Okay, I think it's working. Well, we'll find out soon enough. Alright. That looks good. That's connected. That's picking up the audio, hopefully. Okay. Well, let's just get started. So yeah, it's not the right chat. I want live chat. Okay. Well, this stream will probably be pretty dull to most people. They'll just be going after the X-Hunters over and over again, and for failing to jump on the beetle like an idiot. The beetle go? Is this the beetle already? Oh, there's the beetle. Yep, so it'll just be going after the X-Hunters over and over again to practice their patterns. Because, oh. This is a great start. Because as you can see, I'm not particularly well versed in X2. I see. That was a great start. So yeah, I'm particularly bad at the early. I'm particularly bad at the early classic games, so a bit of practice before I attempt to do any serious recording is much needed, and so it'll be just going through the X-Hunters, maybe going through the stages, get to the castle so I can practice their second fights too. Depending on... Oh, that went well. Just making a complete ass of myself here. No big deal. Some practice is definitely needed here. So yeah, I'm not particularly familiar with the early X-Series games. I mostly play the second half of the X-Series. Which is why my Snap Guide series started with them rather than the early classic series, and why I'm going for X2 rather than X1 is that X1 is a pretty simple game for the most part. I think it's like maybe two fights that you could use some information, and there's already some pretty good guides out there for X1. I don't know why I'm playing it on the wall up there. Okay, so now that I've done making an ass of myself, let's screw up a boss fight. If I remember right, my timing is awful. He can catch you against the wall if you're not careful. Which you really don't want to have happen. Otherwise it's just a matter of patience and making sure you don't let that happen. So yeah. If you're a bit better than I am at this, you can slip between them, keep the arena clear. This up, the monster, blow them up. Don't let the platform push you around too much. try not to walk into him. Yeah, that was embarrassing. Oh yeah, 'cause now they'll swap locations, don't they? Okay, where is... Okay, he's gone to Magma Sink. Oh god, I hate this stage. Well, on the plus side, at least there'll be some variety in stages on the way up to them. And you get to see how bad I am at all the stages. So, you know, nice little bit of variety there. But yeah, these things are annoying, but if you hit them with a charge shot and then hit him quickly, you can take them out really effectively. Which I didn't know when I first played this. So, and I was making... Oh! They spot you, just brute force it. I don't have the weapon to get up there yet. And I won't because, for the purpose of the practice, doing the bosses, I won't be grabbing any of the armor parts, so yeah, some items are just going to be completely out of reach. Because that's one of the ones that needs the arm part to get, because you need to charge. I don't remember the name of any of the weapons, so yeah. Oh, stay away from the falling blocks, because they can crush you when you're on the edge. Okay. So yeah, where is the X-Hunters in the second half of the stage? I think. I hope. Yeah, my plan for this boss is just spam shots and hopefully something will hit. Yep. Just shoot. Just shoot. So yeah, just making my way back to the X-Hunter. Oh. So yeah. Oh. Oh. That's a fail. Oh, yeah, this is a dismal thing. Yeah, so you need to be quicker than that to get through to the X-Hunter. And since that's what I'm practicing, that's just a straight up restart, because otherwise it's a complete waste of time. No, how does this pop-up thing work? Like that, okay, cool. So yeah. So they move around where there's surges. So yeah, that's an example of what not to do. But yeah, ideally you want to hit the X-Hunters in stages where you can easily get to them, so you can, just in case you have any trouble with them. Otherwise, yeah, you have to play through it. This is not a great stage. It's not as bad as, what was it, Bubble Crabs, where you can miss it if you're not familiar dealing with the traveling mini-boss, which I'm not particularly great at dealing with. So I cleared that one so they can't appear in that stage. I just realized I've got special weapons I should be using, but oh well. Make it through, but yeah. The X-Series games definitely have a really good flow to them. Not that I'm particularly great at getting to that flow. As you can see, I'm hitting everything, and if you've only... Unlike the classic series, the different X games, the first three have one particular kind of have one flow state. They play in a certain way. If you played X1 to X3, you'll usually be able to play any of them fairly decently. X4 has its own feel to it. X5 and 6 play similarly enough that you can kind of get away with playing them relatively the same. X7 is a 3D. It's a 3D base, so that plays completely unique. And X8 is its own thing completely, which I don't remember having this much trouble with this before. Yeah, no, what's going on here? I remember that being really easy the first time round. And I hear I'm failing it. Can't even get to the practice room. So yeah, this is going brilliantly. So yeah, I probably should have made sure I can reliably get to each of the X Hunter rooms before doing this. So yeah, this is going great. Need to make sure not to trigger the alarm, because I think that makes the falling block section harder, or at least makes it start up quicker. So yeah, let's try this again. Oh, I am just doing a completely dismal job of this. I hate this stage so much. I really do. It's also the final level, so, you know, can't get away from it. One of X2's weaker moments, I think, playing this stage of all things. Which means I'm going to be seeing a lot of this stage. Oh god, yeah, this stage is the final level, isn't it? So I'm going to be seeing this stage a lot for the Snap Guide. Because I'm going to have to replay it for the Zero fight and both Sigma phases. Oh boy. Yeah. I think there's a trick you can do in this room that lets you get to the final boss, but as you can see, I'm not exactly... I'm just making a complete mess of this. This is just a disaster and a half. Oh, I didn't die to the mini-boss at least. I'll take that. Yes, because what I need is weapon energy right now. Okay, so there. I hate this stage so much. No. Yeah, no, this is done. Come on. It didn't pick up the energy. Oh, that sucks. I didn't realize that was a thing. Oh, this room's tiny. Yeah, this is not a good room for Surges. You really want a larger room for him. No, I hit my input again. Oh, nope. That was a failure. So yeah, I'm not doing great here. And you gotta get past the block section each and every time you want to. Oh boy, just ignore the stage as much as you can. What is up with this? I don't remember doing this. I hate this stage so much. Yeah, no, That's another failure. I don't get it. I don't understand that stage. It's not a hard thing to do, but it's just I'm not particularly familiar with the X games, so honestly, the fact that this stage is the one that gives me the most trouble out of any, and this is the one you have to replay part of, is just an extra reason why I'm not very fond of X2, let's say it put that way. It's a good game, it's just probably my least favourite to come back to in the entire X series, which is probably a very hot take considering what people think of X7, but I play the Japanese version of that to avoid the super tanky bosses. Let's face it, if you want to have any enjoyment from X7, you really can't play any version that has the super durable bosses, because you'll be in those fights for forever otherwise. So yeah, don't mind me, I'm making a complete pig's ear of everything. So yeah, might as well title this How Not to Play X2, because that's what it's turning out to be so far. Yeah, this was not a good stage. Probably should just go back and practice surges on a stage where yeah, you typically want surges on a stage where you can surges in violin you probably want on stages you can easily get access to the X Hunter boss rooms rather than one like this where you can easily get blocked by the falling blocks. Okay, so it's down here. I really hate this stage so much. Never mind. Okay, yep. That went better than the last few tries. So full health. Just gotta get to a stage. And it's fairly easy once you get him down. You just gotta not get trapped by his platform and wait for him to... What even hit me? Really don't want to be fighting him in any sort of small room because there's not a lot of room to get around him. And you really want that extra space even if you're decent fighting him, which I'm not, as you can see. Okay, that was annoying. Clear up the room with another one-shot shot. Yeah, his basic... If you're gonna get hit by any of his attacks, his projectiles do practically nothing, so... if you can't dodge them, it's not too much of a problem as long as you don't get smacked by the boss. I hate this stage. I have no clue what affects the drop rate on those. Do they get quicker when you get scanned or something? Like... I'm gonna practice Surges on a different stage because this isn't working at all. Yeah. Okay, I should have a... Yep, previous password. And let's pick a stage that's gonna make a bit less of an ass of myself. Hopefully. But yeah, the X-Hunters are not my favourite mechanic in the series. Not as bad as, what was it? Not as bad as the Nightmare Police? Is that what they're called? Come on. Nightmare Police from X3. X3 has awful boss checkpoints, which is another thing I'm gonna have to deal with when I do end up trying to make a snap guide for X. Well, that went better than my last try at that. Okay. So Beetle breaks that. But yeah. For Surges, you really want a nice big room. So yeah. Wait, his cape hit you? But yeah, you can break those with a quick level 1 charge shot. Keeping the mind under control and not losing a charge shot to damage. Yeah, it looks like getting greedy is a bad idea in this fight. It's not a hard fight, it's just annoying having to replay so much of any stage, and some of the X-Hunter bosses are annoying to get to say the least. Yeah. Oh, there's a reason I needed to practice them. This is going embarrassingly badly. I'm having my jump seeking now as well. Okay, there's the beetle. Yeah, yeah. Well, let's try this one more time and try to make less of an ass of myself. Because it's not too tough a fight. Why did he bring his shield back? input. But yeah, typically as long as Sergius himself doesn't touch you, you're fine. Or if, you know, you don't keep missing the jump input. The dash jump input in Classic X is a bit more finicky than some of the later games. X4, 5 and 6 will have a bit more leniency with the actual input of the dash jump. Probably because the way the animations line up is a bit more forgiving overall. It might also be a problem with the collection. I remember some people mentioning that. Typically whenever he does his jump thing, you can just run through him. Probably best way for him to stop faffing about before you land a shot. Why does that shield? Why did the shield come up while he was still placing the mine? I don't understand this fight. And I got stuck against the wall and couldn't move. And after this one he goes to... yeah, he'll always go to Magna Centipede stage, which means I need to restart the game. Because I'm not practicing him in that stage, as shown earlier. Because I'm not very good at that stage. I'm not very good at any of the stages, but that one in particular is a definite pass. At least the X Legacy Collection has a nice... Why am I going to Magna Centipede stage? I have no reason to go there. It's Flame Stag. Well, I'm having this much trouble on the first of the X Hunters. And this is just learning the fight, let alone getting any footage for it. Oh, that's going to be such a pain. So I should look for... I should probably look to stop trading with the boss. So, oh, at least I did that right for once. Okay. And just jump across. Good. Use the strike chain on that because it's slightly quicker than trying to do it with the Buster. Come on, X. Get up. Get into the... Okay, there's the beetle. Is it... Back to the X-Buster, and back to the boss room for another showcase of why I need this practice. Right. goes on his monologue. You have to dodge his cape. Hits him when he's on his way down. Okay, looks like the shield has a rhythm to it. That allows you to get through him. Okay. Hitting him early into his descent. Seems to be good. That wasn't exactly a clean fight though, was it? Okay, so that was a successful fight. So I've got some idea of what to do. Unfortunately, that does mean I need to practice it some more. So yeah, that was. This is just basically practicing the stage X. Yeah, the stage X and fights over and over to really get a better understanding of their patterns rather than my usual luck through the fight with brute force. Which it's a fine strategy at times. Doesn't help me when I'm trying to put together any sort of guide. So this is just me figuring out proper timings to not have to luck through the fights. I'm not going to even bother collecting that. I don't need that. I'm not going to keep it. I'll make an effort of collecting that. Screwed up the really basic jump. I have to go without the heart container, which is probably going to bite me because I'm not very good at this fight. I'm practicing, and okay, I don't know why I was climbing the wall. Climbing the wall was not the correct play. Right, so back to surges. With less health than before because I missed the heart container. Alright. Yeah. So the shield has a timing to it. Oh, that was not the correct move. Okay. Okay, my info got eaten. This is pretty much a loss. But yeah, okay, so jumps. Decided not to jump. Okay, so jumps. My positioning is still terrible. Okay, so that was another disastrous attempt. I probably should have have grabbed the heart container. That's gonna heart tank, not heart container. Wrong series altogether. That. So yeah, this is going disastrously badly. But yeah, this is typically what I do when I'm practicing for my stat guides. Just okay, so I need to remember he does his little throw of his cape. Okay, so mine's in a really bad position. There's a better way to clear those mines out. Okay, so sets up mines. You can hit him. You can trap against the wall. There's a lot from missing with a charge shot. You can jump over him. You can go into a double spin. Drop the mine. Okay, so using a wall to get over him seems to be the most reliable way to... Oh. Right, so start low on the wall. When he jumps up, you can then go... Okay, so... He does his spin, you can go off the wall, jump over him, land on the other side, hit him, and still have enough time to clear out a mine before turning your attention back to him. So you've got a... So that would leave a... leave a single mine deployment failure, so you can afford to let him deploy one mine each cycle and still be able to comfortably handle the fight. Okay, let's try that again, knowing the information. Okay, because if that goes well, we can finally move on to a different X-Hunter. And we have spent 40 minutes on a really simple boss. Which is kind of the nature of any sort of guide. You gotta actually be able to understand the boss, not just beat it. So, yeah, good fun that. So we'll just go through the stage again. Yeah, the later X games are definitely much friendlier for things like this, because if you need to, you can just game over and restart at the boss room, which is really helpful for making guide videos. No matter what you think of it, it's definitely more convenient for making guide videos. Single charge shot, swap to strike chain, and then, yep, that works there, and you can then go there. Okay, so let's shoot, jump, shoot. Okay, so that should be fairly easy, fairly simple pattern once memorized, just a matter of executing it properly and watching out in case he decides to jump twice. Okay, so he'll start the fight by throwing his cape, which can damage you. You can get a shot in when he starts. Two shots in there, fine. Wall, clear him, as long as he doesn't put me on the edges, it's fine. If he does, just need to make an adjustment. adjusting the movement and just shooting him when he does that. Making use of the walls, and yep. Well, I executed the strategy poorly, but knowing how he moves is at least making it consistent, which is a vast improvement over my usual performances. So yeah, Surges is slightly more consistent than he was, so that's good at least. So that's something. So that should be good. I should be able to get any footage I need from Surges now. Surges. Never mind, I can't pronounce it properly anyway. Well, it's not the only thing going disastrously wrong here. Okay, so back to this point, and then what stages other than can I get to their X-bosses quickly? That's an easy one. Yeah, let's get is Agile's fight? Yeah, Agile up next. So yeah, Agile's fight is the one up next. So typically you want to do this stage after Real Gated because you can get the chest armor part, but the chest armor part's normally down here. If you got the weapon from Real Gated, you can grab the armor part, which is really, well, you want, if you're not doing some sort of challenge, you want that armor part as soon as you can grab it. It's really good. So yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, I just realized I don't remember where the X-Hunter room is in this stage. And I don't think I've got any weapons that make this an easy mini-boss either. There's two. Okay, so it does that. Okay, I've only got a couple of weapons. Okay, so that's obviously not the right answer. Use the bubble lead. Not bubble lead, bubble shot. Wrong game for bubble lead. Oh, I'm making an ass of myself with this. Okay. This isn't going. I can't even remember. But yeah, this is one of the downsides of having to practice and record, practice fights to record, especially when you're not very good at the mini bosses and don't have the weapons to trivialize them. Okay, so that's, oh, free health, always good to have. Okay, so where is the X-Hunter on this stage? In there? Is that where it is? Oh. Oh no, how do I get across? Okay, I don't, no, because that makes you drop. How do you get in there? Well, I'm certainly managing to make an impressive display of how not to play the game. You not jump off the ladder. What's in that room? Is that where the boss I want to fight is? Probably. How do I get there without the leg part? Question. There we go. Yeah, that's the boss room I need. And I've already taken a beating before even getting to it. Okay, so this time it's Agile, who's the easiest? Hopefully. Oh, no, he's assigned to do... What am I doing? Come on. Yeah, you can bait him into... just repeating that, hopefully. And get him in this cycle with any luck. I need to be careful now because I haven't got the health to take a hit anymore. I managed to muck it up really badly at the start. Oop. Yeah, those slashes are fairly slow, but his sword swipes can carry him across the arena at decent speed, and yeah, he can do that. That was embarrassing. At least I know where the boss room is now, so I will hopefully take as much damage getting to it as last time. Because that was a dismal display, wasn't it? Probably should have just cleared out that enemy first. Just clear that out. Jump across. And yeah. And then just run in. Nice and simple once you figure out you can't jump from a ladder. So yeah, just practicing some of the Hunter fights, and if I'm paying attention I won't get hit by... You can just decide he wants to do that instead of his... Because yeah, Agile's one of those bosses you can get into a controllable pattern. You want to make sure you're high on the wall, because if you're too low his slashes are much harder to avoid. So yeah, one of those bosses you can control completely, which is why the X-Hunters for the Snap guys will be done together, because there's not enough content for Agile otherwise. In fact, most of the X-Hunters are pretty much super simple. Just need to make sure you're up on the wall, because it's basing into that attack, which is the one you want to see. But yeah, other than that, it's a really super simple fight if you don't screw up the pattern. Talking about how easy the fight is, and clearly I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing and not talking, of course. Okay, so just use the strike chain to stay up high, and then I can leap across. Well, I would if I wasn't screwing everything up. Yeah, this is just abysmal. Some poor soul stayed to watch for a few minutes, so that's good. Let's try not mucking up Agile again, which I immediately do by getting hit. But yeah, it's just a matter of keeping him in a cycle. And you want to stay on the far side of the room for him at all times. It's really just a matter of making sure he behaves. Because sometimes he will just run back and forward across the room over and over and over, which is annoying, as you really want him in this. Okay, that was... As long as you're high enough on the wall, it's super easy just to drop down and avoid the attack. So yeah. That should have been much quicker than that. Yeah. Agile, definitely the easiest of the X Hunters. Not much of an opponent in the grand scheme of things. Clear them up. Nice, simple, easy pattern. Of course, it's hard not to figure out his pattern actually, because he's only got 2 moves. Neither of which are particularly complicated. That said, just because a fight isn't complicated doesn't mean it can't get annoying, because the last of the X Hunters is I can't get into this stage, can I? Yeah, I just realised I can't get into this one without the wheel cutter, can I? Yeah, no, that's a failure straight away. I probably should have kept a password that didn't have him in Overdrive Ostrich's stage. So yeah, I need to clear it. I need to fail a stage and then get him to move. Whose stage is easy to get quick game over on? Yeah, okay, so I need a quick game over on. I'm sure how much I know the game. I can't maybe remember the boss names. That's not a good sign. Flame Stag stage. So quick game over here should get. Okay, there's no lava there. Of course, that shows I really should pick a stage with a bottomless pit at the start and not a good chunk through. Okay, let's get to a bit with. This will give me a chance to grab that heart tank. So that's something at least. That lava bit's always annoying. If you're too slow, it just catches you and you can't get out of it. It's not instant kill, but it might as well be if you're not already high up. But yeah. So yeah, I'll be practicing these guys and should get my controller double checked. I'm pretty sure it's me making bad inputs, but I probably should have double checked my controller before starting to stream, because I do have a backup, and the X games can get pretty strenuous on them. That's not instant kill. This is the slowest killing lava I have ever seen in a video game. Okay. Apparently X is lava proof. I would have thought that would have done quite more damage, because the rising lava does loads of damage. But this one does this much. Huh. Never knew this did so little damage. Should have picked any other stage. Okay, that. And now he'll move. Where is he going? He has gone to Wheelgator stage. This is probably the best stage to fight him in. Mostly because his boss room is at the top of an elevator lift and cuts off a chunk of the stage, so it's always good to get an X-Hunter in this stage. On top of that, you get a nice refill right here. So you can use this bit right here to farm up energy or health or fill up the tanks, whatever you need it for. So yeah, this is one of the best stages to get an X-Hunter in, just because you can go in with completely full resources. Top of that, there's the weapon here, which you can use the strike chain to. Hopefully I can get this without. But yeah, this is a nice. You can grab the. Yeah, you can get up here nice and easily. Once you know how to do it, you can get up here, grab that. Not that I'll be doing that for this run because I'm fighting them with just regular unarmored X. Still grabbing the hot tanks because this isn't a challenge run. I just want to show the fight without any of the upgrades for the snap guide, so there's no point practicing with the upgrades if I'm not going to be using them for the actual video. So then again, I need to do them again. But yeah, I'll be using mostly. So yeah, frames just turned off completely. But yeah, I'll be doing them fights with. I'll also be going through the castle with unarmored X, which I'm not looking forward to. But yeah, you can also bait the enemy to shoot, to cooperate. The shots go to about halfway, and from there you can pick up the hot tank nice and easily. I mean, I can do it, so I'm pretty sure anyone else can do that with a couple of attempts at most. Because, you know... Oh! Well, I'm making something easy look really difficult. Jump into the enemy, good measure. But yeah, this is one of the better stages to get an X-Hunter on. Mostly because you just need to get to the boss, you just need to keep going up. And don't jump at the top. But yeah, this is Real Gator stage is the best one to get Violin with. The extra life you get up there, I think it respawns, so you can just keep trying them over and over. And Violins is definitely the hardest fight to get down even remotely reliably. But yeah, this stage just gives you so much in terms of resources. As long as you don't, you know, screw up. I'll probably mention in the video that you'll want to fight Violin here if you're not very good at him. Because you can just jump off there. You do have to drop back down onto the platform and go all the way back up again, but it's definitely worth it for the extra life because you get more attempts at Violin that way. And earlier in the level you get an opportunity to fill up the sub-tank, so you've definitely got plenty of resource in this stage. So if you're struggling with any of the X-Hunters, you can grab the resources from this stage and use them to fight them. And immediately I am struggling. You can bait that, or you can, you know, fail miserably. Oh well. I gotta admit, I can't say I wasn't expecting that. Okay, I'm just gonna jump straight into the enemy like it. Well, that didn't go well. But yeah, there's a reason I'm practicing these, as you can obviously tell. Spikes are dangerous, but as long as you don't jump, you should be fine. Just a level 1 charge shot, break the shield. So break the shield, wait patiently. Don't do anything fancy. There's no need to jump off. In fact, just don't jump at all. And keep collecting the 1-up, and you basically got as many tries as you want on the boss, which is nice. Definitely a great stage to fight any of the X-Hunters you're struggling with. But yeah, honestly, Real Gator stage is just brilliant for whatever you need it for. He's jumped. Gave me loads of room to dodge that. Yeah, if you stand by the wall and then get his face, there's a good chance the thing will miss unless it does that, because it can decide to do whatever it wants at times, apparently. Don't think I've seen it bounce like that before. But yeah, it bounces based on, well, depending on where it hits the wall, it can bounce at... Hold on, I need to focus for a section. Because I'm making a complete ass of myself. But yeah, it can bounce. Depending on where it hits, it can bounce. It basically will always. It will always bounce the same way. Basically, hold on. I need a drink. But yeah, depending on where it hits the wall, it will usually bounce the same way. So you can kind of get into kind of predict it after a few attempts. Because it's usually pretty predictable. Dodging it when it goes quickly is another thing altogether. Because sometimes it can bounce here, there and everywhere. And I'm making this. And despite knowing how the boss works, I'm making this look really difficult. So yeah, it's honestly, the sheer amount of damage he does makes this fight a lot harder than it otherwise would be. It's really just the raw damage that he does that makes it difficult. Yeah, it's also why you want to do him on this fight him on this stage because of the infinite respawning extra life, which is really nice when you're fighting Violin because he's unpredictable at the best of times. If you're playing this casually, you'll definitely want the honestly, if you're fighting Violin in this stage, you can't grab the armor upgrade, can you? Because you need Real Gator's weapon for that. But honestly, the infinite respawning extra life is so nice. When he goes into the air to shoot, you can get up on the wall. You don't want to get cornered by him too much because you've got nowhere to go if he decides to throw his spike directly in your face. Other than that, it's a pretty basic cleanup. Yeah, getting Violin down reliably is difficult. definitely a boss you want to fight on in one of the easier stages. Wheel Gators would be great, but you can't grab the armor, can't grab the chest armor and still have access to that pin on that stage, which is slightly unfortunate. Being able to grab the arm part is always great though. So at least you'll have that for him. And the arm part in X2 is just so powerful. And with how immobile Violin is, the raw power of the arm part will carry you through on a nice casual run. So it's not the worst to fight him here, even if you don't have access to the chest armor to half the damage. As long as you've got at least one sub-tank, you can farm it up at this point. So yeah, you can always go into his fight with a full sub-tank. Full sub-tank. Okay, this stage here is great for farming extra lives, and anytime you need to refill your resources, like the lives, the sub-tanks, you can just fill them up here. Super quick. It's nice to have a stage you can just farm up your sub-tanks on. Gotta make sure to get back to him without screwing up too much. Okay. So yeah, Wheel Gator stage is a good pick for any of the X-Hunters. So yeah, Wheel Gator, Flame Stag. Yeah, Wheel Gator and Flame Stag are definitely the best stages to fight the X-Hunters on, I think. No matter which stage you pick, you've got to get through a good chunk of the stage to fight them again, so... And when you're going for that heart tank, don't make sure to bait the shots out far enough, because the timing on that's a little stricter than a little strict if you're doing the trick. You need to get hit and then immediately dash into it. If you're a little too slow, you'll end up jumping into a spike wall and looking a bit silly. But you know, is the way of the world. But yeah, definitely a fun. It's definitely interesting trying to learn how their patterns work, because while they're really simple, they're not the most not the words completely failing me now. Yeah, they're simple bosses, but the fact they're part of a stage definitely adds to the, rather than at the end of it, makes them slightly more difficult because the checkpoint isn't right before them. Oh, shooting, so yeah, never mind, that was a bad idea. It just goes into that. Yeah, he's doing his low jump. That was a bad... Okay, when he's doing his jump, it's definitely safe to... use the wall. If he's on the ground, there's just not enough time to... And I managed to muck up my dash again, which is something I do quite frequently on the first 3X games. I'm really bad with getting my dashes down, so I'll often miss a dash and end up walking into the boss. So yeah, that's something that I expect to be problematic, especially in some of the more difficult boss fights later on. So yeah, just a overall fairly reasonable experience. But yeah, just climbing up the stage. Yeah, the only thing you need to worry about is staying on that platform too long and jumping into the spikes like a idiot. Okay, I was expecting something else. Okay, I have royally muffled. I read the bounce wrong. I need to pay more attention. But yeah, with violin, you have to be paying attention because the way the ball bounces is entirely physics based. So you can read it and you can react to it. At least in this fight, it will always move pretty reliably if you're paying attention and not mumbling along. So yeah, this is a nice extra life here for me while I'm practicing. But yeah, this is definitely the best stage to grab any X-Hunter footage on, so I'll need to remember that. Just keep game overing until you can get them on real Gator stage. That'll definitely be fun. Yeah, for that first attack. Nope, I was too slow on that. Okay, so knock that up. I think, yep, the third bounce is the one you can jump over that pattern. But yeah, once you get the patterns down, you won't run into the energy balls. So yeah, but if you're close enough to the wall, you can use the wall to get over them, but X's default dash speed is a little too slow to get from one side of the arena to the other in time, so that's something to pay attention to. I imagine the positioning of the way that bounces will change depending on the arena you fight in. Just because the different arenas, I think they've got slight differences in arena size. Sorry, room size, arena. Do I have to measure that? Don't jump into the spikes. That's one thing I specifically mentioned, and I still do it. So yeah, good example of exactly what not to do there. As long as you aren't completely mucking up. You don't need to jump at all in that bit. But yeah. This isn't an X game I revisit much. I only played it for the first time recently. And I'm not huge on the... Well, X2 is fine for the checkpoints. There's nothing... X2's checkpoints are usually pretty good. Even for the X-Hunter bosses, there's usually not too much of a stage between them and their boss rooms. So it's fairly forgiving in that regard. Definitely a lot better than the Nightmare Police from X3. Okay, so we'll do that. Oh, nope, I misread that pattern. Okay, so when he does that, he's further away. Okay, so that bounces that way, and then... Oh, this is going to be an absolute pain to make a guide for. So yeah, I need to correct bounces like that. So yeah, once you get the bounce pattern down, yeah, you can usually tell what pattern he's using. And there's nothing in this fight to change the pattern up, so it's fairly readable as long as you're paying attention. So yeah, I think I've got a good read on this one. Now I just need to be able to beat it semi-reliably, and so yeah, I've got passable. Wait, you don't even need to jump at that enemy, you can just stand on the platform and shoot him. Well, I feel a bit stupid. Okay, so make sure not to jump. Just grab the thing. The downside of grabbing the life is you are likely to take a hit, so being able to just try the fight over and over and over again, and 2 pips of health isn't really a lot in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. Because yeah, the pattern goes far, far. That one's annoying because if you're this close, there's not a lot you can do if you're in the wrong position. Looks like he just yeah, you can do that one. And if he does that when you're stuck in that position, there's not a lot you can do. You need to make sure you're not pinned against the wall. Because, yeah, doesn't matter if you know what attack's coming if you've got no room to avoid it. So yeah, you always want to give yourself a bit of room to dodge. Which seems like simple advice, but when he seems to be stuck in a pattern, it's easy to get complacent and not react to his attacks properly, because that's really what the X-Hunters are. They're just pattern recognition and dealing with the attacks properly. This is just go back up the elevator. Yeah, nice and simple. Okay, so that one goes there, and I think it's, yep, low there. So it goes high, high, high. So yeah, you just need to watch the attacks and react appropriately and not jump into them. I hope he doesn't do the thing at point blank. I'll be honest, I've got no clue how he decides his next attack. There's got to be some logic behind it. But yeah, that's figuring out how he chooses his next action is gonna be frustrating. Not a particularly difficult fight to understand, but trying to explain why he's doing what he's doing is gonna be a task, because I don't think he's got any particularly complex logic, and just for all I know, he could just be picking actions at random and not based on position, so it could just be a pure reaction fight. agile can be manipulated super easily, and Surge's is pay attention. That one goes. So right, so you can read that attack based on the speed it goes at. Okay, so that one hits low twice. Yeah, that one needs to be up on the wall before it starts its return bounce. Oh boy, this is just... For a simple fight, this is just going to be such a pain to write anything, even remotely helpful on. Because there's no way to cover all the angles and how it bounces and whatnot, and there's two versions of this fight, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Which I imagine is why there's not many decent guides for X2 as opposed to X1, because X1 you can easily read everything, like everything can be predictable, you can, patterns are recognizable, you can control bosses, anything that isn't preset is easily predictable and controllable through player action. I think this guy just does whatever he wants. Okay, so that was just unfortunate. Okay, so it looks like he has different launch heights for his ball attack, and each of the heights come out at different speeds. So based on the speed, you should be able to predict the angle of where the balls hit and how it bounces around the room. Okay, so that's gonna be a pain. I'm gonna have to record fights against him and then watch those back to get proper proper data on him. Let's do one more fight against him because I think I've got a decent read on him now. Go back to the title. The ball bounces. Okay, so the ball come out at different angles. So it's he'll only fire it. So he'll either fire it. So his initial firing angle is what needs to be figured out quickly. And there's got to be a way to figure that out. Once you get that down, the rest of his attacks are pretty underwhelming. So it's just a matter of figuring out how he launches his initial ball strike and reacting accordingly. He fires it up. He can fire it up. He can fire it short, or he can fire it. I think he's only got two initial firing. I'll need to watch back the footage to get a good read on it, but let's just do one more run and yeah, I'm sure this stream is probably pretty boring, and my lacking commentary is probably not helping, but it's good to it's nice to you know, do this and not just be sitting in complete silence, even if there's no one around. It's still nice to have a reason to, you know, to talk, even if I'm not very good at it. So yeah, X2 is definitely not the, I wouldn't say it's the hardest X game, because there's definitely, the X games are definitely more input demanding than the classic series. Whether that means they're harder or not doesn't mean they're harder from an execution standpoint. It just means, well, they're harder from an execution, not from a timing standpoint. So that's okay. I'm back to running into spikes again. That's always a great sign when you run into spikes. That's why I'm using the... Okay, so you can stand down there to bait the attack. Okay, so it's bait the attack by standing here. And then you can do the spikes jump. Yeah. Okay. Shoot your way across. Through his feet. Make the way back to the Surges fight. Not Surges, Violin. But yeah. Definitely a fight that seems more random than it is, though figuring out what he's doing in the moment is a challenge. Sometimes you are just going to have to hope for the best, because his first action could be, yeah, that. He did a short one that time. The angle he fires at isn't easy to tell what he's doing. At least that airborne attack is pretty much a free... Oh, I shouldn't have been in the air for that one. Wasn't paying attention. But yeah, I think he's got 3 different firing angles he can attack from, and figuring out which one he's using might be difficult, because, you know, they do come out fairly quickly, and by the time you realize what one is being used, it might be a bit late to avoid it. So I'll have to watch back the footage and see if there's a trick I can use to predict it, and because if there's a trick to use which one he's using, then it can be used in both of his fights, which will help a lot later. It's definitely good to practice him now rather than in the castle stage, because that fight's got more random elements to figure out. Okay, so you should always walk forward for that initial attack. If you can't make it to the wall, then stay in. Yep, that's the one that bounces close. His far bouncing is there. That was it. Okay, he's just using his far bounces. Too close to the wall and move. Okay, so you want to keep him away from, you don't want him cornering you. You can use far bounce with his spike ball or close bounce, and that will affect how it's going to bounce around the room. The far bounce is easier to deal with if he's somewhat closer. Okay, so the far bounce can be easily. The far bounce is 1. Oh, hello. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just going over the yeah, hello there. Yeah, this might not be the most interesting. I'm just figuring out how the spike ball bounces around the room at the moment. So it's mostly just going through the stage and fighting violin again and again at the moment, which probably isn't the most interesting gameplay, but it's better to figure it out here than in the final stages, because it should follow the same basic logic in how it bounces, only with more elements to factor in, so it's easy to figure out now rather than against more difficult version of the fight. Hopefully my mic's been picking up my voice and I've not just been talking to myself for the past hour and a half. So yeah, not the most thrilling stream. This is pretty much what I've been doing for the other Snap Guy videos, just going through the same bit over and over and over till I figure out the fight. For some of them it's more annoying than others, like one I've recently finished was on Gate, and every time you want to figure out anything about Gate or take a break, like for most of the fights it's fairly easy, like going through a stage isn't too bad, so taking a break every now and again for those is fine, but the final bosses like Sigma is particularly nasty, because every time you want to fight Sigma you got to go through the entire boss rush, which I guess could be worse, but because most of the bosses can be stun locked by their weakness or handled fairly easily. Well, in most X games anyway. It's why I'm actually jumping to X2 rather than continuing with X7, because I don't want to do Crimson Palace multiple times in a row. So yeah, X2 is getting handled before the before X7, because I don't want to do Crimson Palace. So yeah, but I think I've figured out how that ball bounces around. Actually dodging it is another thing altogether, but once you figure out the logic behind the attack, it should be reasonable to avoid it. I'm not sure my reaction speed's fast enough to actively respond to the attack, but you know, figure out. So let's say he'll either do a ball, or he'll jump, or he'll shock. So he's jumped this time. Okay, so he's done a close bounce. That time was a close bounce. That was a far bounce. Close or far, that's a far bounce. It's a far bounce, which means you go there and then there. He's doing his shots, which is free damage from me, because yeah, once you figure out how the ball's going to be bouncing around the room, yep, once you figure out how the ball's bouncing around the room, it's fairly trivial to predict it in this fight at least. So yeah, he has two ways of bouncing his ponytail ball around, and depending on which one he's using, you can actively respond to it, because even if you get struck by the first hit, which with how much damage it does, that's really bad, the fact that once you see the first bounce, it's fairly easy to predict where it's going to be next, and you can plan out your movement in advance rather than having to respond to the bounce, because it'll always react the same way based on his positioning. So he has a far bounce, he has a close bounce. His energy balls do low damage but are also predictable. I think the only attack which could be a problem is standing shot into far bounce. But other than that, it should be fairly reasonable to handle him. So yeah, that's the basic patterns of all three X Hunters. I'll need to pick up the actual footage for making the guide for these, because I won't be using my stream footage for the guides. But yeah, so that's the basic strategy for all three. So I just need to get the guide footage for them, well, the footage, write up the proper script and record it without me going every few seconds. And yeah, that's fairly. So yeah, the regular X Hunter fights are pretty easy to figure out. Violin's fight in the fortress stage is going to be a bit of a pain, because you've got to factor in the block. But the fact that I know there's two styles of bounces now means I should be able to at least predict the bounce some of the time. And he doesn't, and aside from that, his moveset's pretty much the same, just with the Yoku block in the way. So I'll definitely have to practice that fight, because it's not one I'm definitely one I'm going to have to practice a fair bit of. So yeah, I probably won't do that today, because I only want to keep this as a short stream and get the three stage ones practiced, which I've done. I think I've got a pretty good handle on how their patterns work, and I've done what I've wanted to from this stream, so I'll probably end it soon. If anyone is watching this, then thanks for watching, and I apologize if this stream's been rather uneventful.